Hello, you lovers of wonderful music, and all you haters of U2, I guess, aren't watching because this is billed as a U2 episode. So we are going to completely surrender. It's Songs of Surrender.
Hands up, hands up.
Have you got it,
I've
Ben?
literally got, I've got it here. I've got it here. Sorry, I was listening to Atomic City in one ear and
Okay.
I can see but yeah, I have it here. I have the single disc vinyl of Songs of Surrender, which I've had on for the best part of a week,
Yeah,
mainly
no, we
because of laziness and secondly because I'm still suffering a little bit with vertigo, another YouTube sort of thingy there, and getting up and changing it over is sometimes not my friend. But yeah, I've been listening to this. It's been on the record player for about a week, which is quite good for me.
So what are your now this album came out in was it April of 2023, so we've given it a few months. A lot of people were very quick to give their opinion on this. In fact, a lot of people gave their opinion on it before they'd heard the album, so that was interesting.
Yeah,
That happens with a
yeah,
band like U2. But I think if I remember when they were bringing this out, they did give a bit of a background to this, and this is kind of almost a little bit like their Lockdown album. Um,
yeah,
it was going to be a smaller project. Apparently, The Edge was going to do some versions of songs that were in Bono's, were the chapter titles of Bono's book, because he wrote that
yeah,
book about his life, which the title of which has totally escaped me. But it expanded. I think he ended up recording 40 songs, which are you can buy the full size version of the album with all of that on, but
yeah. If
16
you're not
tracks
tight like me,
is the standard album, the standard LP. Um, Now, apparently Adam and Larry are on it, but they're pretty subtle on it. There's a little bit of percussion and a few Larry
yeah,
drum
there is. Yeah,
loops.
yeah,
Some Larry drum loops have been used on it, bit of Adam bass. Um, Although apparently if you play it over a hi-fi system, and don't listen to it on your phone, then you will hear a bit more of them. And obviously
yeah,
Bono is on vocals. I think when they put this out, they previewed it with, and I thought maybe it was a mistake. They previewed the album by releasing two or three tracks that were massive hits. I think they did the version of Pride. I think that came
yeah,
out, and I
yeah,
think maybe was it With or Without You. They put on as a sort of a digital single, and of course a lot of people objected and said, "Oh, these are cheesy karaoke bar versions of the songs, or
yeah, yeah,
they sound like it was Bono going to the retirement home, and all this sort of thing." Um, you know, I saw people putting posts on there. I've been a fan of the band for years. I love their albums, but this is awful. I'm not going to buy this, etc. So it wasn't just the usual people who don't like the band. It's the people who have enjoyed the band's music, really objected to the songs being redone in these, well, very mellow, introspective
yeah, yeah.
versions. So, what's your view of it?
Well, I went into this thinking that 'cause I think we'd spoken about it before, and I said a few tracks I'd heard sounded like demo versions. And a few bands have done albums like this. I know Snow Patrol did a reworked album of previous stuff. But I have to say, for all the doubters, I think it's a really good album. I think it's got a lot more depth in it. Some of the songs have got more depth. There's a couple on there. I think it's The Fly. Almost sounds like a precursor for Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. It's got a very. I never heard that on the original. And then I think it's Stories for Boys has got a very Lou Reed sort of feel to it. But I actually really like it. And you have pointed out to me on a couple of occasions that I seem to be going quite mellow in my musical choices recently.
Well, you do like mellow, you do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of stuff that's mellow. Now, I
I
tend
just
to
find
be,
it's got more depth. I think there's more. I think when it's stripped back a little bit like it is on here, you hear more than what you do on the normal studio versions, if that makes any sense. I'm probably
yeah,
talking absolute nonsense, but they just feel a bit more like a warm blanket. instead
Yeah.
of being punched in the face.
Well, you two have always been a band, obviously, that have a big, from early days, had a big sound. They're a band who are associated with stadium concerts, and most of their music, even their ballads, are
Yeah,
big ballads. They're big records. With or without you,
yeah,
one.
yeah.
They're not really mellow in that sense. In fact, I'm trying to think of U2 songs that could be described as mellow in their original versions. I think maybe something like,
Sweetest thing.
yeah, maybe certainly something like, well, not so much mellow, but in a quiet and stripped down and not a massive
Yeah,
amount of
yeah,
instrumentation. Maybe something like Running to Stand Still or White as Snow or The First Time. But these are album tracks that are quite deep cuts. They haven't really had hits with songs like that. Um,
yeah.
my view on it is, I thought, well, it's interesting to hear a reinterpretation, and it's interesting to have an album by U2 that's mellow all the way through, because I haven't really
Hmm.
done that before. And I also found it quite interesting to listen to. I sampled this online, streamed it, and I found that it was quite good for late night browsing on headphones in the dark. The songs sound good. They have their kind of a late
Or were
night
you
quality to them.
browsing late at night,
Yeah,
Phil?
late night quality to them. So
Oh yeah.
I'm I've delved into it and listened to a fair bit of it, but I can't say that I've necessarily listened to all the 16 tracks that are on that one you've got there, because
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
listening to the 40-track version and dipping in and out of that. Um, but overall, I thought there was some very good versions on there. I'm not saying they're necessarily better than the originals; they just complement the originals. But I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not against having alternate versions of songs, but then maybe that's because I'm into artists like Bob Dylan that I've quite often got alternate versions of songs,
yeah, yeah.
and people like both of them. So I'm not one of these people who gets too precious about it being
No,
redone.
no. I think when you've got an alternative version as well, I think you tend to hear something that you might not necessarily have heard on the original.
This is true, and you can certainly sometimes it throws light on the lyrics, doesn't it? Particularly you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
noticed before, or we
yeah,
can almost give it maybe a different emotion at times as well. So
yeah, yeah. I
um,
mean, if you're looking for an album that's going to get you in your lycra and wrestling lions, it's not it's not going to do that. But I just really enjoyed it, and as you know, I mean, I've got a lot of U2 albums, but they're not in my top 5 or 10 artists that I'd listen to. But I really didn't. Well, obviously I've had it on for a week, so I must have enjoyed it. So, and it's
so
sort of
what?
one of them. Every time I listen to it, I feel like I'm hearing something a little bit different. So it kind of where I would normally just take the disc off, put the other one on. I'm like, no, I want to go back and listen to that other side. So, which is good for me because I have the attention span of a goldfish, if they have an attention span at all.
So which versions of theirs on there do you? How many of those songs are there? Ones, let's put them into categories. Ones where you knew the original, and how do you think it compares to the original? Are there songs on there that you didn't really know before at all? And are
Um,
there any on there that you don't think come off, or that maybe were a bad idea?
um, well, I've never really liked The Fly. Don't know
Okay,
why. I've never really liked that as a song. I just find it a bit messy. It's like children's dinner. Uh, but the version on here is a lot better. But that could just be me. That's my personal preference. I'm just looking at the track list now. Da-da-da-da. Pride in the Name of Love. Those sort of iconic ones probably don't hit the mark like they do with the raw studio vocal and stuff. But then they give you a different emotion because of the tempo and everything of the song. The songs I didn't really know beforehand were probably If God Will Send His Angels, Stay, Far Away So Close. The rest of them are kind of, and Stories for Boys. I didn't
that's
really know that before.
that was on the first album, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said on this, I think it's got very much a Lou Reedy feel to it. So that sort of Transformer sort of era. But um, like I said, the main ones that Streets Have No Name, One, Pride. City of Block, those sort of tracks. They're not going to hit you like a cricket bat to the face like the original studio versions would, but I think they're up there. I think they stir a different emotion in a more thoughtful emotion more than a raw emotion, I'd say.
Does that have stuck in a moment you can't get out of on it? That
This
was one.
one
That
doesn't.
was one that I
No.
thought worked really well. Is
Yeah.
Red Hill Mining Town? Is that on there?
Do you want me to go through the track list?
Yeah, let's go through it because I liked the
So,
version of Red Hill Mining Town. I thought that was good as well.
so side one, record one is one. That's the opening track. And then it's followed by Where the Streets Have No Name. I've got one for you. Have you seen that U2 have brought out a Monopoly for Christmas? It's all good, but
I can tell where
it,
this is going. Yeah.
it's all good, but the streets have no name. Hey. Anyway, then it's got Walk On, the one they've done for Ukraine or whatever. And then on side two, it's Pride, City of Blinding Lights, Ordinary Love, and then Invisible. And I don't think I can remember listening to Invisible before.
Well,
Uh,
that's quite a rare one. I don't think that was not on an album. I think that's one of these songs that they've done on a maybe they did it for a movie or something, but I can't remember where
yeah,
that was
yeah.
from now.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a nice opening to it, a nice sort of positive vibe. And then side two is Vertigo. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Is that what you said? I'm still haven't.
I didn't mention that one, but I do remember that was
Oh,
I thought was quite a good
yeah.
one.
And then The Fly, If God Will Send His Angels. And then it closes with Stay, Sunday Bloody Sunday, I Will Follow, and 40.
Right. So it's yeah.
So
So there's also quite
that is the
a few from the
16.
first album as well on there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the track Invisible. It's quite positive. It reminds me of something else. I don't know what it is, but it's got a nice positive vibe to it. So
I'll have to
it's a good
playlist it.
album. Yeah, I think even people who don't like U2, if you don't like U2 and their studio stuff, you could buy this and bear in mind royalties, Bono, come to me.
It's like
I
another
think
band.
I think it's a good sort of you know introduction if you don't know U2 and you don't really want to listen to you know all the noise.
Although quite often the objection to U2 is Bono, isn't it? So you don't really bypass
No,
that.
no, I don't get the thing. I quite like Bono. It's not though. I could understand if he was going around kicking kittens and stealing presents from orphans, but it's
Yeah, I'm not on board with Bono hate either, but as you know, but there are people who just find him annoying or think he's overbearing or whatever. I mean, he's a
yeah.
big personality for sure. He's certainly,
Oh yeah, and he's
I,
probably got a massive ego as well. So
I think, I think he admits that to an extent. He's pretty self-aware. I think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's someone who hasn't allowed it to go totally out of control. He certainly hasn't allowed it to go out of control and ruin his personal life. He
No,
has
no.
allowed he may have allowed it to go slightly out of control on occasions and done things like putting the album onto the iPhones and that kind of thing. That may have been
Oh,
a
I
little
remember that.
bit
Yeah, yeah.
of a bad idea, but he certainly hasn't allowed his ego to um, mess himself. He hasn't messed himself up in other ways.
Well, if you
So
think about it, as rock stars, which they are, you two, can you ever remember them really being in the papers or anything like that for being absolute bell jockeys?
no, the only one who ever had a rock star phase. Because the thing about U2 that's interesting is when they started, they were kind of like they weren't an explicitly Christian band, but they were all the three of them, apart from Adam, were all religious to some extent.
Yeah.
They went to a prayer group at their school and everything. And I think their school was a church school. I may be wrong about that, but they had a big thing about they started this rock band, and then Bono, Edge, and Larry had this sort of, well, should we really be doing a rock band because we want to do good things in the world? Does God want us to do a rock band? So they had this sort of moment of doubt that whether they should be doing a band. And Adam Clayton, the bass player, really wanted to be in a rock band because he wanted to be a rock star, and he was the one who wanted
Yeah.
to be a rock star. And Adam, I think, played a big role early on because he was very outgoing more than the other three, and he was good at chatting to the club owners and getting them gigs and oiling the wheels of getting them going. And he was desperate to be a rock star and date girls and do all the rock star things. The other three weren't so much into that. They were a little bit more into they always were quite serious and wanting to do, stuff like their campaigning and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So where am I going with this? None of them have ever had a rock star phase. Well, Adam Clayton did have a slight rock star phase in the early 90s because he dated Naomi Campbell. And he then there was one gig on the Zoo TV tour, which I think was in November, which is a couple of months after I saw them, where Adam partied too much and got himself completely smashed and wasn't able to play one of the gigs because he was in such a state. And his bass technician played bass at one of the shows.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be the rehearsal for the show that was going to be filmed as the official video of the tour. So he kind of let the band down quite a lot. So he felt so bad about letting the band down that he's never done that again. And in fact, he made sure that he sort of kept away from drink and various substances.
Yeah.
And of course, he's now since got married. He was the last one to get married. I mean, he got married in later life, and he's settled down a bit more now. But he's the only one who went anywhere near sort of a traditional rock star. Get in the papers because you've done something wild.
Yeah.
And that was pretty mild by rock star standards anyway. So, yeah.
Because wasn't two of them? Because they're not. Wasn't Adam Clayton born in Oxford? Wasn't he born?
Yeah, I think he was born in England, I think, and then the family moved to Ireland.
And the Edge wasn't he?
Edge was born in Wales, wasn't he? I think. Or was his family Welsh? Or he's got some kind of Welsh connection. I've forgotten now. He's got.
Let me have a look on here. I've just brought up you two. I remember we looked into this before. The Edge was born in Barking in Essex.
Oh, he was born in Essex, right? Didn't his family have some Welsh connection as well?
Yeah, born in England to Welsh parents and raised in Ireland. Yeah,
he was raised in Ireland.
Yeah. His brother. Oh yeah, because I think we've discussed this before. The fact that his brother is called Richard G. Evans, or they shortened it down to Dick, D-I-K. So he's Dick Edge. But yeah, anyway, back to Songs of Surrender. Great album. Don't get all the hate. If you like a bit of melody, it's not the Lighthouse Family, but it's up there.
Okay, so Ben is recommending that Songs of Surrender from U2. That's the single disc edition. You can buy a 4-disc. You can buy a 4-disc version, or you can stream it. 40 songs in total. I think they made it into 4 LPs of 10 songs each.
Yeah.
So if you want to delve even deeper, you can do that. But there you go. That's Songs of Surrender. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to give us a like if you enjoy these rambling conversations, and share us to any other music fanatics that you may know. In the meantime, we'll do another show. We'll do another show soon. But thanks. Yeah, I will subscribe as well. Yeah, we like those as well.
We do like subscribing. Thank you.
All the best. Bye bye.